Your mind is the most powerful tool you possess. It can help you overcome harsh challenges, transform suffering into strength, and turn dreams into reality. But that very same mind, if left unchecked, can become your most dangerous enemy, pulling you into the abyss of anxiety, doubt, and insecurity. Have you ever felt imprisoned by your own thoughts? The small voices in your head constantly remind you of past mistakes, paint worst-case scenarios for the future, and make you fearful even when there's no real threat. The Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." His words capture the essence of Stoicism, a philosophy that teaches us how to find serenity amidst life's storms. Stoicism trains us to master our minds, ensuring they do not become shackles that restrain us, but instead powerful allies that propel us forward. In this video, you will learn how to think like a Stoic, overcome negative thoughts, and take control of your inner world. So before we begin, leave a comment saying, "I control my mind," as a commitment to yourself. Now, let's embark on this journey to conquer the mind together. How does your mind become your enemy? Have you ever asked yourself, how does my mind become my enemy? One day, you wake up feeling exhausted and disheartened. Inside your head, the same thoughts keep repeating, "I'm not good enough. I will fail. They hate me." These words don't come from anyone else. They come from you, from your own mind. The scary part is that these thoughts don't just pass by. They creep into every decision and every action and gradually shape your life. When you believe you're not good enough, you don't dare to try. When you think you will fail, you don't even want to start. When you assume that everyone hates you, you isolate yourself before anyone else even has the chance to. And so, the cycle continues, turning you into your own worst enemy. So, how does your mind become your enemy? First, negative thoughts are self-destructive. Imagine you are a talented athlete with an opportunity to compete in an important competition. However, instead of focusing on training, you are consumed by thoughts like, "I'm not good enough. Others are certainly better than me." You spend more time worrying than practicing. The day of the competition arrives, and you step up to the starting line with a mind full of self-doubt. In the end, you fail not because you lack ability, but because you have convinced yourself that you cannot win. Do you see the problem here? You weren't defeated by your opponents, circumstances, or luck. Your own mind defeated you. The human mind is like fertile soil. If you plant positive seeds, they will grow into motivation, confidence, and determination. But if you sow negative thoughts, they will spread like weeds, draining your energy and ultimately turning you into a prisoner of your own mind. One of the most destructive ways negative thinking affects people is through self-sabotage. When you have the ability but refuse to step out of your comfort zone, when you have opportunities but hesitate, when fear paralyzes you so much that you withdraw before the game even begins. This is the danger of the mind when it becomes an enemy. It doesn't need anyone else to hurt you. You do it yourself. Have you ever wondered why negative thoughts take root so easily in our minds? The answer lies in our brain's tendency to focus more on negativity than positivity. This is a survival mechanism from our ancestors, who had to remain constantly alert to dangers to stay alive. But in the modern world, fear is no longer a lion in the jungle. Instead, it comes in the form of criticism, judgmental glances, and anxiety about the future. We believe negative thoughts because they seem like the truth. We confuse emotions with reality. Just because you feel like you're not good enough doesn't mean you truly lack ability. Just because you think you will fail doesn't mean failure is certain. But if you believe these thoughts, your actions will reflect them, and they will become your reality. The key to preventing your mind from becoming your enemy is learning to detach yourself from negative thoughts. Stoic philosophy teaches an important principle. You are not your thoughts. When a negative thought arises, don't immediately believe it. Observe it like a passing cloud in the sky. Ask yourself, is this really true? Is there any evidence for it? Or is it just my fear speaking? Marcus Aurelius once said, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. And this you have the power to revoke at any moment." You have the power to shift your perspective. You can replace "I'm not good enough" with "I am still growing." You can replace "I will definitely fail" with "I might fail, but I will learn something from it." Your mind can be your worst enemy, but it can also be your greatest ally. It all depends on how you treat it. If you take control of your thoughts, you will no longer be held back by the invisible limitations you impose on yourself. Remember this, you may not be able to control everything in life, but you can always control how you think about it, and that will change everything. Second, worry too much about things beyond your control. There are days when your mind seems to turn against you. Wandering thoughts pull you into a loop of anxiety and fear. You drown in old memories, replaying conversations over and over, wondering if you said something wrong, if someone is judging you. You worry about scenarios that haven't happened yet, imagining every possible outcome in your head, allowing unease to take over every moment. The more you think, the more exhausted you become. The mind can become your most dangerous enemy. Without any external force acting upon you, your own doubts and worries can erode your confidence and hold you back from moving forward. Stoicism has a core principle: we should only focus on what we can control. But have you truly realized that? Or are you still wasting your precious energy on things beyond your influence? Take a look at Cain. Cain is a perfectionist. He always wants to be liked and appreciated by others. Every time he steps into a conversation, he carefully chooses his words, fearing that even a small misstep might upset someone. After every meeting, he asks himself, "Did I say something wrong? Was my boss satisfied with me? Do they think I'm useless?" These thoughts aren't fleeting. They become an endless loop. They chip away at Cain's confidence, making him lose himself. He tries to please everyone, but this only leaves him drained. He worries about reactions he cannot control and forgets the most important thing. The only thing he can do is give his best. Cain doesn't realize that he cannot control other people's thoughts or emotions. He can do his job well and speak with the utmost sincerity, but how others respond is not within his grasp. By worrying too much about this, he has unknowingly turned his mind into a ruthless enemy, one that constantly reminds him he's not good enough, that he needs to do more to be accepted. Now ask yourself, have you ever been like Cain? Have you ever stayed awake at night, wondering what others think of you? Have you ever spent hours worrying about an event, only for it to unfold completely differently from what you imagined? Have you ever let fear consume you to the point that you hesitated to make a decision? Let me tell you the truth. Every worry about something beyond your control is a waste of time and energy. You cannot control what others think of you, but you can control how you respond. You cannot ensure that everything in life goes smoothly, but you can control how you face challenges. You cannot prevent all criticism, but you can control how you perceive it as a lesson rather than a wound. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic philosophers, once said, "Make the best use of what is in your power, and take the rest as it happens." This doesn't mean being indifferent to life or ignoring your emotions. It means you have the power to choose where to focus your energy. Instead of worrying about what others think, ask, "Am I staying true to my values?" Instead of fearing what hasn't happened yet, ask, "What can I do right now to prepare as best as possible?" Instead of getting caught up in things you cannot control, ask, "What truly matters to me?" There is incredible power in letting go. When you stop trying to control what you cannot, you will feel lighter. You will no longer be trapped in the cycle of anxiety, but instead, direct your energy toward things that truly matter. Remember, your mind is not your enemy. But if you don't learn to manage it, it can become a prison. The first step to freeing yourself from that prison is accepting that some things are beyond your control, and that's completely okay. And once you do, you will realize that you have conquered yourself. Third, live in the past or future instead of the present. Close your eyes and imagine. You are standing on the edge of a cliff with a deep abyss below. There is no wind, no sound, only the pounding of your heartbeat echoing in your chest. You know that your next step could change everything, but instead of moving forward, you stand there, paralyzed. Not because the cliff is too high, but because your mind is pulling you back to an old memory, the time you fell painfully in the past. Or worse, it drags you into the future, painting a dark scenario of what could happen if you fail again. This is how your mind betrays you. It holds you hostage to the past or the future, while the present, the only thing you truly have, slips through your fingers. We suffer more in our imagination than in reality. Seneca's words ring like a wake-up call. How many times have you feared something that never actually happened? How many times have you tormented yourself with past mistakes, as if replaying them in your mind would somehow change anything? History is full of examples of people imprisoned by their own minds. Take the story of Thomas Edison, for instance. When he was young, Edison was fired from his first job for being too absent-minded. Not only that, but he failed thousands of times before successfully inventing the light bulb. If Edison had drowned in shame, if he had allowed his past failures to define him, humanity might have taken decades longer to progress. But what if he had given up? If Edison had let the past imprison him, he would never have had the chance to succeed. And just like him, if you let your past dictate your present, you will never have the chance to move forward. There is a harsh truth: the past cannot be changed, no matter how many times you think about it. You can learn from it, but you cannot turn back time to fix it. So why let it control you? Similarly, many of us are trapped in fear of the future. We worry about things that haven't happened yet, imagining the worst possible outcomes. A student fears failing an exam, so instead of focusing on studying, he drowns in anxiety and achieves nothing. An entrepreneur is so afraid of failure that he never dares to start his business. Someone refuses to love again for fear of getting hurt. Pause for a moment and ask yourself, how many times in your life have you worried about something, only to realize later that it wasn't as bad as you imagined? The truth is that our minds tend to exaggerate fear, making it seem far scarier than reality. And while you are drowning in the past or the future, what are you missing? The present. Marcus Aurelius, one of Rome's greatest emperors, once wrote in Meditations, "No one can lose either the past or the future. How could anyone be deprived of what he does not possess? The past no longer exists. The future has not yet arrived. The only thing you truly own is this moment, right now." Take a hard look at yourself. Are you living or merely existing? Are you truly experiencing your life, or are you a time traveler stuck between two destinations you can never reach? How to take control of your mind. There is one question that Stoics often ask themselves: is this within my control? If the answer is no, then why waste energy worrying about it? If the answer is yes, then take action instead of letting your mind spiral into chaos. In the next section, we will explore practical Stoic techniques to help you take control of your mind. Stop living in the past or the future and focus on what truly matters, the present moment. But before we continue, if you find this content meaningful, hit the subscribe button now. It's not just a click, it's a commitment to yourself that you will take charge of your mind, rather than letting it control you. Together, we will learn to master life through the wisdom of Stoicism. How to control your mind. Have you ever felt like your mind is a battlefield where negative thoughts, anxiety, and insecurity constantly attack? You want to focus, but your thoughts drift like uncontrollable waves. Perhaps you've tried to push those thoughts away, but the more you try to forget them, the more they haunt you. The truth is, you cannot control your mind if you are not aware of it. Just like a river, if you get carried away by the current, you won't know where you are headed. But if you stand on the shore and observe, you can see the water flowing, understand how it moves, and most importantly, you are no longer controlled by it. Step 1. Become aware of your thoughts. Your mind is a complex entity, and if you're not mindful, it can become your greatest enemy. Negative thoughts, fears, and doubts can all creep into your mind without you even realizing it. They operate like silent intruders, affecting your emotions, actions, and even your entire life. But pause for a moment. Are you really your thoughts? Imagine waking up one morning feeling exhausted, and your mind starts whispering, "I'm not good enough. Today is going to be a terrible day." If you're unaware of this thought, you might believe it and start your day in a discouraged state. But if you observe it, you can ask yourself, "Wait a minute, this is just a passing thought. It doesn't define me. I have the power to choose how I perceive today." Self-awareness is not about preventing negative thoughts from appearing. That's impossible. Instead, it's about taking a step back and observing your thoughts rather than being swept away by them. You can't control the external world, but you can control how you respond to it. And that begins with observing what happens in your mind. How can you train yourself to observe your thoughts? The answer is simple. Write them down. Spend a few minutes each day recording your thoughts in a Stoic journal. This is not just a regular diary where you vent your emotions. It's a tool to cultivate wisdom and self-awareness. How to practice. In the morning, write down what you anticipate your mind will go through during the day. Are there any situations that might make you anxious or frustrated? How can you prepare your mindset to face them? In the evening, reflect on the day. What thoughts arose? How did you react to them? What could you have done better? For example, if today you felt discouraged by criticism, write this down. I felt frustrated when my colleague said I wasn't working fast enough, but that's just my interpretation. I can choose a different perspective. This is an opportunity to improve my skills. By recording your thoughts, you create distance between yourself and them. You're no longer trapped in automatic reactions. You can analyze and adjust your perspective more objectively. At first, observing your thoughts may feel challenging. We are so used to being carried away by emotions that we often don't recognize where they come from. But with daily practice, you will notice a remarkable shift. You'll no longer be easily controlled by negative emotions. You'll realize that negative thoughts are just products of the mind, not absolute truths. You'll have the ability to choose how to respond instead of letting your mind dictate your actions. Just like physical training, mental training requires patience and continuous practice. But once you learn to observe and master your thoughts, you'll see that your mind is no longer your enemy. It becomes your most powerful ally. And that is the foundation of a resilient life, rooted in the wisdom of Stoicism. Step 2. Distinguish between what you control and what you don't. Imagine standing in the midst of a storm. The wind howls, the rain pours relentlessly, and the sky darkens. What can you do? You could scream angrily at the storm and blame the weather for ruining your plans. But will that change anything? Absolutely not. The storm will continue, regardless of how much you complain or worry. The only thing you truly have control over is your reaction. You can prepare better, bring a raincoat, find a safe shelter, and continue your journey without letting the storm break your spirit. Now, try applying this principle to your daily life. When someone insults you, can you control what they say? No, but you can control how you respond. You can get angry, retaliate, or simply remain silent, refusing to let their words affect your emotional state. Sometimes, a silent gaze is the most powerful response. Imagine you are in an important meeting. A colleague openly criticizes you in front of everyone, their tone challenging, waiting for your reaction. In that moment, all eyes are on you. If you immediately retaliate, argue, or show frustration, you are playing right into their plan. But if you pause, stay composed, and simply observe them with a calm, unwavering gaze, what happens next? That silence denies them what they seek, your reaction, leaving them unsettled. They begin to feel uncertain, questioning whether they were wrong or whether they crossed a line. When you refuse to be drawn into the emotional game others set, you not only protect your inner peace, but also demonstrate immense strength. Life is full of situations beyond our control: the weather, the past, other people's thoughts, and even the impermanence of life itself. But what we can control is our attitude toward these events. If you can change the situation, take action. If you can't, let it go. Have you ever thought, "I wish I had done things differently"? Regret is one of the greatest enemies of the mind. But can you turn back time? No. So why let your mind get stuck in the past? Learn to accept that you cannot change what has happened, but you can learn from it and become better. Similarly, worrying about the future is another form of futile control. Can you control every outcome? No, but you can prepare, plan ahead, and adapt when things change. Imagine you have an important presentation tomorrow. You could lose sleep worrying about all the ways it could go wrong. But will that worry help you deliver a better presentation? Not at all. The only thing that helps is preparation, practice, and stepping onto that stage with a ready mindset. When someone insults you, when you face difficulties, when life throws unexpected challenges your way, ask yourself, can I control this? If the answer is no, let it go. If the answer is yes, take action. The essence of suffering does not lie in what happens to you, but in how you respond to it. When you realize that your mind doesn't have to be your enemy, you begin to discover your true power. You don't need to control the world. You only need to control yourself. So, have you ever had a moment in life when you let go of something beyond your control and felt a sense of relief? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Step 3. Convert negative thinking into Stoic thinking. Imagine a familiar situation. You are about to face an important challenge, a presentation, an interview, or a new opportunity. But right before that crucial moment, your mind whispers, "What if I fail?" This thought appears as quickly as a flash of lightning, paralyzing all the confidence you've built. It paints the worst-case scenario, making you doubt yourself, feel afraid, and sometimes even hesitate to move forward. But have you ever realized something? The only thing happening at this moment is your mind projecting a situation that hasn't even occurred. And if you let these thoughts take control, you will lose the opportunity before it even begins. Now, let's try a different approach. Instead of thinking, "I will fail," ask yourself, "What can I learn from this experience?" Do you see the difference? A thought filled with anxiety and fear is replaced by a perspective of growth and control. Thomas Edison, who failed thousands of times before inventing the light bulb, once said, "I didn't fail. I just found 10,000 ways that don't work." Take a moment to reflect on this. An average person might give up after 10 or even 50 failures, but Edison kept going through more than 10,000 attempts. What does that mean? It means failure isn't real, only learning is. You cannot lose if you keep getting back up. You cannot fail if you see each setback as an opportunity to improve. So, how can you truly practice this mindset? The answer lies in observing and redefining your thoughts. When your mind presents a negative thought, don't accept it immediately. Pause and ask yourself, is this really as bad as I think? Is there a more positive way to look at it? If Marcus Aurelius or Seneca were in my position, what would they think? Above all, remember that your thoughts are not yours. They are just waves passing through the ocean of your mind, but you are not the waves. You are the captain steering the ship. Another way to practice this is by keeping a Stoic journal. Write down situations that made you anxious. Analyze whether they were truly as scary as they seemed, and reframe them with a Stoic mindset. Try it now. Recall a negative thought you had about yourself in the past week. Then, rewrite it from a Stoic perspective. How can you turn it into a lesson or an opportunity? Now that you know how to observe and transform your thoughts, how can you apply these principles consistently in your daily life? This is where we move into step 4, practicing Stoicism daily. This is the most crucial part, where philosophy is no longer just in books, but becomes part of who you are. In the next section, we will explore specific methods to bring Stoicism into your daily life, so that you don't just control your mind, you truly master your life. Are you ready? Step 4. Apply Stoic practice daily. Every day, your mind is overwhelmed with countless pieces of information, emotions, and experiences. If you don't pause to reflect, you can easily be swept away by the endless flow of life. This is precisely why Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest emperors of Rome, wrote in his journal every night not to boast, but to remind himself of life's lessons. Try something simple. Every evening before bed, write down 3 things you learned that day. It could be a small lesson in patience while waiting, a new realization about how others behave, or a moment when you noticed yourself reacting impulsively. When you write it down, you are forced to confront your own thoughts. You are no longer just a passive victim of the current, but an observer, an analyst growing wiser each day. Your mind is no longer your enemy, it becomes your teacher. Next is the practice of memento mori. Remember that you will die. At first, this might sound grim, but in reality, It is one of the most powerful tools to master your mind. Why should you remember this? Because only when you are aware of life's brevity do you truly live. Imagine this. If today were your last day, would you still dwell on negative thoughts and meaningless worries that have burdened your mind for so long? Would you still care about the judgmental glances of others or the minor mistakes of your past? Or would you cherish every moment, love more deeply, and act more decisively? Each morning, take a minute to remind yourself, life is finite. How will I use it today? When you live with this awareness, your mind will no longer be an enemy or a skeptic. It will be an ally, a guide leading you in the right direction. We often avoid discomfort. When it's cold, we seek warmth. When we face challenges, we want to retreat. But constant comfort weakens the mind, making it panic when faced with the unexpected. Stoicism teaches us to step into difficulty willingly to train our minds. You can start with small steps. Take cold showers instead of warm ones to build resilience. Fast for a few hours to experience hunger and realize that you control your needs, not the other way around. Push yourself beyond your physical limits in exercise to see that you are stronger than you think. Live minimally for a day each week. No social media, no unnecessary spending to understand that you don't need much to be happy. These experiences may be small, but they teach you a great lesson. You are stronger than you think. When you voluntarily embrace hardship, your mind learns that it does not need to fear life's challenges. And when real difficulties come, a crisis, a loss, a failure, you will be ready. No change happens overnight. Mastering the mind is not a magic trick. It is a process. Every day, you write in your journal to observe your thoughts. Every day, you remind yourself that life is short and not to be wasted on meaningless things. Every day, you train yourself through small challenges to build a resilient mind. Slowly, patiently, you will realize something. Your mind no longer controls you. You have mastered it. And when you master your mind, you master your life. So, we have explored how the mind can become our greatest enemy if we fail to control it. But at the same time, when properly trained, it can be our most powerful ally, helping us live a calm and steadfast life. Stoicism is not just an ancient philosophy. It is a practical guide that enables you to master your thoughts, break free from negative loops, and focus on what truly matters. Take a moment to pause and ask yourself, how many times a day do I get caught up in useless thoughts? How often does my mind make me anxious, angry, or fearful without any real benefit? If your answer is too many, then now is the time to take action. Try practicing a Stoic exercise today. Observe your thoughts as an outsider. Remind yourself that you are not your thoughts. You are the one who decides whether to let them control you or not. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss future content on Stoic philosophy and how to apply it to everyday life. And now, choose one of the recommended videos on the screen. I'm sure it will help you take another step toward mastering your mind.